Throw yourself into it and really give it your best.
That's very true, Paul. I mean, you could do it, but what I think KISS represents is doing something really well, eh? Okay, I'm gonna introduce this show, and then I'll introduce you guys too. You too there, old timer. Okay, Boozhoo ni Jana Shanabe Doog, and welcome back to Boozhoo Nana Boozhoo, the podcast about Ojibwe language and culture. And we got some very special guests today. We've got a great man with many followers, a man who's influenced many people, who's led a nation, who led an army, the KISS Army, eh? And I'm very honored to have Paul Stanley here, a true hero. And then we also have Gitchi Ayang. Gitchi Ayang, we have an elder, and that's our word for today, elder. Gitchi Ayang. And our elder is Dolly. Dalai Lama. I want to apologize for anybody who thought we were booking Dolly Parton. You know, wouldn't that be good? We should get Dolly Parton on here. But anyway, okay, so we got the Dalai Lama and the great Paul Stanley. And so let's see, we're going to talk about KISS today. And just one thing, you kids, I want you to know about the elders. In our way, in the Anishinaabe way, we honor the elders. We honor the Gitchi Ayag. And, you know, even if they don't always agree with us, we must hear them and we must honor them. Okay, so with that being said, tell me, tell me, Dalai Lama, what do you think about KISS? What do you think about what KISS is doing?
They're doing something. At the same time, they cover their face. I don't think that's right.
Well, you know, you didn't like the 80s either, so I'm not sure if there's any pleasing you. So what do you have to say to that, Paul? His flabbiness, the Dalai Lama, thinks that KISS shouldn't be covering their face. Why does KISS cover their face and put on all the makeup and all that?
I think really what it comes down to is basically no matter what kind of music you're playing at this point, when you go out on tour, you have to give people something more than just music. Whether you come out with an oriental rug and sit on a stool and have a silhouette of trees in the background, or whether you come out and jump around and you're wearing jeans, it's all part of a very staged show, and it's really for the audience's benefit.
Pity. They do not know what was the 4 centuries sort of history and the recent history. I think these people should visit Tibet.
Visit Tibet? What do you think, Paul? Will KISS visit Tibet? Are you planning a tour of what's it called, the Himalayan mountains? Do you have any fans in Tibet?
We really want to go out on the road. We want to meet our fans. We want to make new fans. And we really want to give people what they always expect from us. It's real interesting that when I run into fans or if I'm at other shows, they always want to know when you guys are going out. When's KISS going out on the road? Because whether it's implied by us or by them, every other show is kind of second rate next to us.
Yeah, well, you know, if you ask me, I think all the other bands are second rate compared to KISS. But you know, some people think of KISS as a nostalgic act. You know, they always bring up the 70s, like you guys stopped playing in the 70s or something. Tell me, Dolly, do you think that KISS is still relevant? Um, you know, are they still relevant in today's music scene, or are they out of date?
Now they're outdated. Therefore, as early as
All we can say is that we're totally committed to the band.
you are not up to Tibetan people.
All right, well, okay. You know, I don't think he ever said he was a Tibetan. You know, I think he's just, but that's okay. You know, you're welcome to your opinion, sir. And I will honor you because you're my Gitchi Ayan, my elder. And that's all the time we have for today, folks. I'd like to thank the Dalai Lama and, of course, the great Paul Stanley. the great teacher Paul Stanley, for being my guest today. And I want to thank you for watching Boozhoo Nano Boozhoo, the podcast about Ojibwe language, culture, Kiss, and anybody else we can get on the show here. All right then, I will see you again. I will see you again. Giga waba min minawa hawa. I almost forgot how to say that. All right, well you boys did really good. Should we watch some Kiss videos? Yeah, I know you want to, Paul. Probably not you, Dolly. By the time they had arrived at Wagosha's hole, it was nearly noon. You want to come in for some lunch? Wagosh asked. We were going to have eggs, but you saw how that turned out. Maybe the old lady can heat up some mac soup instead. Thanks anyway, but I don't really eat. You don't eat? No, little cutie said. He was starting to feel self-conscious again. I don't actually have teeth or any of that. Oh, that's right, Wagosh suddenly remembered. Well, that's cool. You want some coffee then? Little cutie said. Ah, just kidding. Listen, little cutie. Whatever you need for this vision quest, you just ask, okay? Wagosh said. I could care less about the humans or Migazi, but you're my Niji. There's nothing I wouldn't do for you. I know, little cutie said with a big smile. You're my Niji too, Wagosh. Okay then, Wagosh said. See you later. Meanwhile, high above Cabacona Lake, Migazi and Mamengwa were drifting on the winds and discussing high-minded ideas once again. Migazi stretched out his massive wings and comfortably soared in slow, ever-widening circles as the tiny monarch struggled against the mid-afternoon breeze. Boozhoo, Mamengwa. Mamengwa took a long, thoughtful look at Migazi and finally said, You know, you don't have to settle for being just an eagle. Migazi said nothing. He wasn't insulted. His attention was on a shimmering walleye 100 feet below. Mamengwa was undeterred. He said, Take a look at me. Once I was a humble caterpillar. Then, as soon as I knew I was at a healthy place, psychologically, physically, and spiritually, I cocooned myself away from all friends and family. Really spent some me time processing my childhood and getting in touch with my feelings. When I finally emerged, I was transformed. Migazi rolled his eyes. He had heard the story many times before. I went from being the ugliest little worm in the forest to the most beautiful creature of all. He didn't think of it as bragging, but Mamengwa truly believed everything he said. Granted, I'm sure being the big, bad, bald eagle has its advantages, Mamengwa admitted. You're a heck of a fisherman, and your face is all over the humans' money. But you could be so much more. Far below, little cutie scanned the afternoon sky until he finally caught sight of Migazi gliding along effortlessly. Okay, now what? He thought. Just then, a familiar voice called out from somewhere inside the dense undergrowth of the forest. There he is! It was Jagag. He was thrilled to see little cutie. He didn't like to admit it, but Jagag was a very lonely little skunk. Man, it is so good to see you, Jagag said, and abruptly pulled little cutie to him for a good tight hug. It's nice to see you too, Jagag, little cutie replied. You know, little cutie, you're the only friend I've got. All the other animals, they're afraid of me. I don't know why. I'm a peaceful kind of guy. Are you sure it's fear? Little cutie asked. What else? Jagag said. He was unaware of any issues concerning odor. Since little cutie's nose was nothing more than a black felt triangle, he didn't notice either. Hey, Jagog, can I ask you for a favor? Anything for you, my Niji, Jagog happily responded. Can you help me get Migazi's attention? I need to talk to him about something. Jagog's tail shot up, and a grave look of concern fell over his face. He was prone to overreact under the first sign of trouble. Why? What's the matter? He asked. I'm going on a vision quest, Little Cutie replied. What's a vision quest? Oh, I don't know, but I guess you're supposed to go on one before you move out of the house. Little Cutie said, knowing how silly that sounded. You're moving out? What about Aubrey? Little Cutie felt a pang of sadness at the mention of her name. It was the first time he had ever experienced that. Well, that's sort of the problem, he said. Aubrey's outgrown me now, and I'm probably going to have to live with the bears in the old res dump. Wait, the real bears? Are you out of your mind? Jagog exclaimed. You'd be lucky if they didn't use you as a pillow. Really? Oh, come on, Little Cutie. You've got no claws. You've got no teeth, he said. Bears are big, vicious fatzos who never share any of their delicious garbage with me. Do you really think I'd fit in so poorly with them? Little Cutie asked, even though he knew the answer. I'm telling you, Little Cutie, if you think the humans are bad, well, I don't think they're bad. I just think, well, he didn't want to say it, but Little Cutie was thinking, what kind of a person just grows tired of another? Maybe he wasn't much of a bear, but the forest animals all seemed to like him. Didn't Aubrey remember the good times anymore? Was she really too old for him now? Sure, it's probably a little embarrassing to be carrying around some old baby toy, but Little Cutie couldn't continue. He leaned his tiny head on Jagog's shoulder and started to cry. Aw, man, it's all right, Little Cutie. You've still got me. Jagog dabbed Little Cutie's eyes with his bright white tip of his tail and said, Besides, let's be fair. Have you even talked to Aubrey about any of this? He hadn't. She seems like a nice kid for a human, Jagog said. You should really find out what she's thinking before you do anything rash. I concur, said Mamengwa, seemingly out of nowhere. What are we talking about? Ho, Mamengwa, said Jagog. Our little brother, Little Cutie, is on what'd you call it? A vision quest. And he needs the eagle's advice. This time Mamengwa rolled his eyes. Listen, Little Cutie, Mamengwa said. All you need from Migazi is a ride to Kichimanadu. A vision quest is nothing more than a conversation with the Great Spirit himself. Whatever is going on with you, Niji, whatever is eating at your heart, you just let Kichimanadu know all about it, and everything else will fall into place. Trust me. As if on cue, Migazi descended from the heavens and majestically landed on a nearby branch. Oh, Verily I say unto you, my red and white, 100% cotton friend, he began. If it is passage to the Great Spirit you require, then pray thee wish for not one moment more, and allow me to serve as your most humble, if not utterly regal, winged carriage. Mamengwa sighed and rolled his eyes again. Why must you talk like that? Oh, I don't know. I just think it sounds kind of cool. And how often does Little Cutie get to do something like this anyway? Little Cutie smiled. Even the bald eagle cared about him. Very well then, Mamengwa said. Carry on. Migazi turned to Little Cutie and said, So what do you think, kid? You want to go for a ride? Yes, yes I do, Migazi, Little Cutie replied and shook his head in disbelief. All his life, he dreamed of flying like the eagles, and now he was about to know what it was really like. Migazi securely gripped the tiny stuffed bear by the back of the neck. With a movement of his wings that sent a rush of air through the leaves, the two of them rose up and over the tall jackpines in seconds. Soon Little Cutie could see for miles around. Trees, lakes, and clearings of hayfields covered the landscape. In the distance, he could see the house he shared with Aubrey and the family. Can you hear that? Migazi asked. Is that a guitar? Yeah, we must be close. I'll set us down over there. As the trees engulfed Migazi and his passenger, and the forest floor seemed to rise to greet them, Little Cutie noticed a tall, handsome man with a goatee and a long, curly ponytail. He was sitting on a stump and playing acoustic guitar for what seemed to be an alien. Migazi and Little Cutie respectfully waited for him to finish his song before they said anything. When he was done, they joined the alien in applause. Miigwech, he replied. You're much too kind. Gitchi Manadu turned to his friend and said, Stephen, have you met Migazi and Little Cutie? Little Cutie was amazed. How did he know my name? He thought. I can read your mind too, said a voice inside Little Cutie's head. No kidding, Little Cutie thought. Surprisingly, he wasn't at all afraid. There was something so comforting and peaceful about this man that Little Cutie was quite at ease. Then Stephen's high-pitched voice entered the small bear's mind. Thank you, I just taught him that one, he said without moving his lips. Now he's going to teach me how to play a bar chord. What brings you way out here, Little Cutie? Gitchi Manadu asked, this time with regular speech. Does Aubrey know where you are? I guess you could say she's the reason I'm out here, sir. Little Cutie took a deep breath, then exhaled. Well, it's like this. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. There's so much I don't understand, and everything is changing too fast. He paused. His face was twitching because he was trying not to cry. I'm lost and alone. I don't know who I am or what I am. And let's face it. What kind of a silly name is Little Cutie anyway? I mean, really. Gitchi Manadu. Open me up. Okay, take two. Take two. Gitchi Manadu set his guitar to one side. Take three. Gitchi Manadu set his guitar to one side, reached down and put Little Cutie on his lap. You know how you got that name, Little Cutie? Take four. Gitchi Manadu set his guitar to one side, reached down and put Little Cutie on his lap. Do you know how you got that name, Little Cutie? I don't know. I guess I don't remember. I've had it my whole life. I gave you that name because that's how I saw you, little and cute, Gitchi Manadu said. But don't mistake what you think are your shortcomings for what is your great power. What do you mean? Haven't you noticed how nobody else seems to get along? The squirrel doesn't like the eagle. The chickens can't stand the fox. The fox doesn't respect the chickens or the eagle. The skunk dislikes the bears and everybody disrespects the skunk, he said. Little Cutie reflected on his journey. And the one animal who is the most feared in the entire woods, Kichimanadu continued, the one animal who nobody, except you, trusts, has welcomed you into their home. You want to know why? Why? Because you are little and cute. Nobody is afraid of you. So you don't have to be afraid of anybody. Only you have been able to learn from everyone else. Since you are so little and cute, you have become the most courageous and wise of all the animals. But what about Aubrey? Let me tell you something about that. Lots of people keep their favorite stuffed animal for a lifetime. Sure, Aubrey's going to have other interests and maybe even her own adventures out in the world by herself, just like you. In the distance, they could hear Aubrey calling, little cutie, where are you? Sooner or later, though, we all come home. Let's go, guys, Kichimanadu said. Then with a single strum of a magical power chord, everyone, except little cutie, vanished and immediately reappeared on Steven's spaceship far out in space. Their adventure was just beginning. Oh, what? Back on Earth, however, and after a few minutes, Aubrey found little Cutie in the clearing, sitting peacefully as he considered everything that had just happened to him. How in the world did you get way out here? I thought I lost you, she said. Without another word, the young girl scooped up the cute little bear into her arms and ran back home. As the years went by, Aubrey did have many adventures out in the world without little Cutie. But just as the Great Spirit said, she always came home eventually. The end. Oh, wow. What a story. Nicely done, Michael. All right, there you have it. Little Cutie, A Teddy Bear's Vision Quest by Michael Lyons. And you've been watching Boozhoo Nana Boozhoo. Miigwech. I will see you again. Igawaba Min. Minawa. Hawa. Going to shoot a real quick podcast. All right, let's do it. Yeah, I'm just going to jump right in. Boozhoo ni Janashanabe Doog, and welcome back to Boozhoo Nana Boozhoo, the podcast about Ojibwe language and culture. I am Nana Boozhoo, and today's Ojibwe language lesson is how to count to 10 in Ojibwe Moan. And to do this, we're gonna read Michael Lyons' Dog and Ma'ingan. Dog and Ma'ingan. Dog and wolf. Okay, so here's a little dog and he's saying, hello, in Ma'ingan. He says, Boozhoo. You're standing in the snow, Zukipun. 1, Beijig. Beijig, 1. 1 dog. Beijig, Anamush. 1 dog. Beijig, Anamush. 1 wolf. Beijig, Ma'ingan. Beijig Maingan. 2. Nij. 2. Nij. Beijig Nij. 2. Eagles. Nij Megaziwug. Nij Megaziwug. 3. Niswe. Niswe. Beijig Nij Niswe. 3 bears. Niswe Mukwug. Niswe Mukwug. 4. Niwin. Niwin. 4. 4 raccoons. Niwin AC Banag. AC Banag. Niwin AC Banag. Nanan is 5. Nanan. 5. 5 deer. Nanan Wawashigeshiwug. Wawashigeshiwug deer. Nanan Wawashigeshiwug. 5 deer. Six. Ningod waswe. Ningod waswe. 6. Ningod waswe. There's some ande wug. I wonder what this next number is going to be. Some birch trees there. 7. Nij waswe. 7. Nij waswe. So you got 7 Nij waswe. 7 rabbits. Nij waswe. Waboozhoo. Nij waswe is Waboozhoo. 8. Ish waswe. 8. Ish waswe. 8 squirrels. Ish waswe. Misa jittabug. Ish waswe. Misa jittabug. 9. Jangaswe. Jangaswe. 9. It's Jangaswe. 9 birds. Jangaswe. Beneshiyag. Jangaswe. Beneshiyag. 10. Medaswe. Medaswe. 10 is Medaswe. 10 butterflies. Medaswe. Mamengwa. Medaswe. Mamengwa. And finally, Miigwech. Thank you. Oh, that's just adorable. Nice job, Michael. Dog in My Ingan by Michael Lyons. Oh, wow. Yeah, I really did a nice job with that. So, okay. I want to say miigwech to you people watching this podcast. And I will see you again. Gigawaba min, minawa, hawa. All right, Grandma, you got that tea ready? Let's watch some Barney Fife.
You through?
That's 7 including the one when we first came in. You asked Mr. Vernon here whether Barry Manilow knew that he raided his closet.
Now it's 8. You stay out of it.
Excuse me, sir, it's 7.
Shut up, Pee-wee. You're mine, Bender. For 2 months, I got you. I got you.
What can I say? I'm thrilled.
Oh, I'm sure that's exactly what you want these people to believe. You know something, Bender? You ought to spend a little more time trying to do something with yourself and a little less time trying to impress people. You might be better off. All right, that's it. I'm going to be right outside those doors. The next time I have to come in here, I'm cracking skulls.
Swim in a sea of